we're going to take a look at subtracting a polynomial fraction. Now we have three fractions. Each of them are all in polynomial form, and the first thing we need to do is to make sure that we have common denominators. The normal rules for fractions apply. In order to find the common denominator, we must first factor anything that can be factored. So my first fraction, I notice, has a 2 that goes into both of them. So I can factor out a 2 in the denominator, and my numerator stays the same. In my second fraction, I notice in the denominator both of them share a factor of 3. So I can go ahead and factor out a 3. And that will get me the same numerator and a denominator of x minus 3. And finally, for my last fraction, two things are going to happen. First, I notice that 6 goes into both of them. Then I notice this is a difference of squares, which can factor out like this. So my last fraction is going to have 6 on the outside, x minus 3 times x plus 3. And my numerator stays the same, because 27 and 5 don't share any common factors. So now I'm ready to take a look at this problem and find a common denominator. So before I do that, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write out this fraction that I have here, but I'm going to leave some space, because I'm going to have to multiply the numerators and the denominators by something to create my common denominators. So we have x minus 3 over 2 times x plus 3, and then I'm going to leave a space, minus x plus 3 over 3 times x minus 3, leave a space, minus 5x squared plus 27 all over 6 times x plus 3 times x minus 3. So now, could you load the printer? So now the next thing I'm going to have to do just put the paper in the printer. So the next thing I'm going to have to do is to see what I need to multiply each fraction by in order to get a common denominator. So if I look at my first fraction, what am I missing? Well, this has a 2, and this one has a 6. So obviously, I'm going to need a 6, right? So my greatest common denominator, or sorry, least common denominator, is going to have a 6. This fraction also has an x plus 3. And this one has an x plus 3, so that's nice. This one has a 3. Well, 3 also goes into 6, so that one's taken care of by the 6. I have an x minus 3. And I notice that my least common denominator matches this denominator here. So the question is, what do I need to multiply 2 times x plus 3? Make sure you are not communicating to anyone while you're working. So what am I going to have to multiply? Excuse me?
It's Lauren here today.
And what do you need her for? So I noticed that I'm going to have to multiply 2 times 3 to get my 6. And I already have my x plus 3, so I need my x minus 1. So what I multiply the denominator by, I have to multiply the numerator by. So now let's look at my second fraction. What am I missing? What do I have to multiply 3 by to get 6? Well, I'm going to have to multiply it by 2. And so, this already has an x minus 3, so it needs an x plus 3. That's not recyclable. That paper's not recyclable. Okay, so then I notice that this fraction already has every element in my least common denominator, so I'm good. So now it's time to multiply things out. So x minus 3 times x minus 3. Well, I'm going to have to do my rainbows, smiley faces, foil for you old school folks. And I will get x squared minus 6x plus 9. But I still have that times 3, right? So then that gets multiplied or distributed out. So I get 3x squared minus 18x plus 27. And that's all over my common denominator. Minus. So then, same thing. I multiply this out, and I will get x plus 6, x squared plus 6x plus 9, and then I still have to multiply that by the 2. So I get 2x squared plus 12x plus 18. Then I have my common denominator, 6 times x plus 3 times x minus 3. And then, thankfully, I don't have to multiply the last term by anything because it already has the common denominator. So we have 5x squared plus 27 all over 6 times x plus 3 times x minus 3. Alright, so now it's time to actually do my subtraction. I did all that stuff just so I could actually do my subtraction. Now the first thing I noticed is I have a 27 here, and I have a negative 27 here. Well, 27 minus 27 is 0, so that crosses out. So then, 3x squared minus 2x squared, well, that's just 1x squared. 1x squared minus 5x squared is going to be negative 4x squared. Negative 18 minus, negative 18x minus 12x is going to be negative 30x, because I'm going farther into the negatives. And then I have no other coefficients other than this 18. Be careful here. We're subtracting 18, so that's a negative 18. And then that's all over my common denominator. Now, wouldn't it be great if that was the answer? Life isn't great. We have to do another step. I noticed that all 3 of these terms in the numerator all share a factor of 2. Negative 2, in fact. So I'm going to factor out a negative 2. So I have negative 2 times 2x squared minus 15x. That is an x. Anytime now. Come on, there you go. Sorry, I'm going to factor out a negative, so that will be a plus. Negative 18 divided by negative 2 is positive 9. And that's all over 6 times x plus 3 times x minus 3. Now the next thing that we have to do is take a look at this. Can this be factored? And gratefully enough, it's not factorable. So we don't have to factor it further. So what I can do is I can reduce 2 and 6. They both share a factor of 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and I still have that negative. And you know that a negative divided by a positive is a negative. So for my final answer, that's my answer box. Big drum roll, please. My final answer is going to be negative 2x squared plus 15x plus 9 all over 3, because 6 divided by 2 is 3, times x plus 3 times x minus 3. Really, nothing more than a simple, easy stroll in the park.